Map, a ProPublica report investigates repatriation efforts of Native American remains in the U.S. We'll meet with award-winning journalist Mary Hudetz, and we'll learn how the Northwestern Band of Shoshone are building for the future as we approach the anniversary of the Bear River Massacre. Plus, Cook Macarro talks about the Sundance Film Festival. I'm Mackenzie Allen Charmley. Join us for those interviews, plus headlines from the ICT Newscast.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.
Arizona State University welcomes 3,500 Indigenous students from Arizona and across the nation. It serves one of the largest populations of Indigenous students among U.S. colleges and universities. We created a sense of place for tribal nations to create futures of their own making through community outreach and research, taught by world-class Indigenous faculty where they see a reflection of themselves and their experiences. Find community at ASU.
Thank you for joining us. We begin in the Navajo Nation, where its council has made history by electing its first female speaker. Speaker Crystalline Curley is from Fish Point, Arizona, and is a former Miss Navajo. Curley says it was her time as a pageant winner that helped her decide if pursuing office was what she really wanted. The new speaker says it was a struggle to get into office because of the pushback from her male opponents and others in her community. But observers say female leaders are important because the Navajo tribal government is typically male-dominated. In total, 9 women were elected to serve on the nation's council, along with the first female vice president. This is Curley's first term being elected as a council delegate. The Native American Journalists Association is working to empower the next generation of Indigenous storytellers. The organization is now accepting applications for the 2023 Native American Journalism Fellowship. This is an opportunity for students to deepen and broaden their reporting and multimedia skills. Selected fellows will build their reporting and interpersonal skills in a digital newsroom experience. Students will also learn from tribal journalists and news industry professionals from across the country. Applications can be submitted through February 10th, and ICT's broadcast internships are also open. Just visit ictnews.org for more information. Well, the Samoan language is now being taught at Stanford University. 2 Samoan students, Brandy Atuatasi and Ari Patu, successfully petitioned the inclusion of the Samoan language into the university's curriculum. The course will teach the Samoan language and will include aspects of its culture and history. In a statement, Atuatasi said her language and culture is worth fighting for. People took to social media to express their support, with users commenting, "And now I suddenly want to go to college," praising the addition of the language course. The newly established class began earlier this January and is being taught by mother and son duo Talutangi and Chris Young. Now to Peru, where protests are underway by activists who want to remove current President Dino Boluarte and update their constitution. Boluarte took power following the arrest of former President Pedro Castillo after he attempted to seize power. Castillo, who comes from an indigenous community, ran his campaign as a man of the people. A large chunk of the protesters are Quechua and Aymara. These are some of the largest groups in the southern region of the country. Protesters have been blocking roads, and fights with police continue to become more aggressive and violent. Currently, there are 45 dead and many more injured from police using live ammunition. Human rights groups are calling the police's actions a violation of human rights and, in some instances, a massacre. Protests have also caused the closure of famed tourist site Machu Picchu, which left non-Peruvian visitors stranded. Well, 2023's Sundance Film Festival established the first Indigenous House. In collaboration with Illuminative, the house hosted various events ranging from dinners to panel discussions. Some of the topics included Indigenous women in entertainment and overall Native contributions in the industry. Illuminative recently revealed new research on the impact Native films and TV have in the industry. In a statement, Echohawk, Pawnee citizen and Illuminative founder Crystal Echohawk stated that despite the entertainment industry being one of the biggest perpetrators in Native erasure, Native people have flipped the script. For Echohawk, the Indigenous House is a celebration of the contributions made by Native creatives. Illuminative hopes the Indigenous House can be a space where Native and non-Native peoples can come together in community. And those are the headlines for the ICT newscast. This month, ProPublica launched the Repatriation Project, an investigative series that found some of the nation's most revered institutions have failed to return or resisted handing back Indigenous remains and burial items. This includes institutions like the American Museum of Natural History and Harvard University, long after the passage of the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act in 1990. Joining us today is award-winning reporter Mary Hudetz to share more about ProPublica's discovery and her reporting process within the project. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you for having me.
To start, reporting on ancestor remains and burial items is already a heavy topic. I wanted to ask about the origins of ProPublica's decision to move forward with the Repatriation Project. How was it decided that this coverage was needed?
Yeah, we started this project actually over a year ago, and there were several journalists at ProPublica, including me, who understood that the National Park Service kept this very big data set that we could start to mine and understand the performance of different institutions on repatriation. One major question I think had started our work and has really guided our work all along. And that is why, after more than 30 years, do institutions continue to hold so much, despite the passage of NIPRA and the work of Native people to really get that sort of landmark human rights legislation passed. And so now, to give numbers and explain where we are and why we have these questions, today, institutions still hold more than half of the ancestral remains that they reported having after the law's passage. And that number is over 100,000 ancestors. And then in addition to that, many of their belongings.
Goodness. Your first pieces look at the U.S. institutions and agencies that actually hold remains. I was hoping you could share some of the findings and give us some takeaways from your reporting so far.
Yeah, one of the really interesting things we saw in the data was that 10 institutions hold just about half of what still has to be returned. So if these institutions really started to make progress on what they hold, that we would see incredible gains and essentially justice for Native communities that do want their ancestors to come home. Among those institutions or agencies, I think there is, Harvard University is in that group. Berkeley, University of California at Berkeley actually holds close to, but not quite, like almost a tenth of what remains in museums. And so I think that was really informative for us. In addition to our findings, I think we thought it was important to delve into the history of this topic. So it became an investigation also really about acts of the past and how institutions either have sort of benefited from, excavations that happened a long time ago and that maybe they wouldn't do today or see as the right approach to doing archaeology today, but yet they still continue to hold ancestors from those times, taken in those times.
I understand ProPublica created an interactive map and database for readers to utilize as a resource. Could you touch more on that?
Yeah, we created a huge database using the data that came. It was truly my colleagues on a team we call the News Apps team who developed that. And we put so much thought into that app. We engaged a lot with tribal communities, different people we thought were really active in the NAGPRA space to get guidance on it and talk through sensitivities. And there's a lot of ways we hope the public will use this app on ProPublica's website. You can essentially type in the name of the university you attended, for instance, and see how their performance record is. You can type in the name of your tribe to understand what institutions hold from the regions that you are currently your tribe's homeland or were part of your tribe's historic homelands. But we can start to make and understand what institutions' collections relatable to people. Or if you want to go to an institution, if you live in a major city or even smaller towns across the country, you can look up that institution before you go visit it.
Overall, what impact are you and the team at ProPublica hoping that this coverage in the project will ultimately accomplish?
First of all, I think it's the conversation on how many institutions' histories are really intertwined with the darker, in some cases, the darker aspects of US history. And, while these institutions are also geared towards public education and have offered sort of benefits to society, there is something for them to really review and I think talk about in their how their collections came to be. I think we're really interested in tracking. It's a very interesting time to be working on NAGPRA related stories and investigations because there's a lot happening right now. The Interior Department is reviewing new regulations to keep I think, to try to get institutions to or tribes to have a better process for reclaiming ancestors. And then, I think we'll just be interested to see what sort of movement happens on repatriation itself. I guess another reason why it's an interesting time is I think a lot of institutions do understand, museums and universities, that repatriation is the route for them. And we're seeing apologies and statements saying it's time for them to, or that they're really trying to work on repatriation. But I think the true measurement of that is repatriation itself. And so we're still watching the numbers to see what starts to be returned over the next year.
Well, Mary Hudetz, we're ending our time here, but thank you for sharing your reporting with us.
Thank you for having me.
January 29th will mark the 160th anniversary of the Bear River Massacre for the Northwestern Band of Shoshone, where hundreds of Shoshone were killed. Today, the tribe is working toward revitalization of their land and culture through various restoration projects and the building of a cultural center and amphitheater. Northwestern Band of Shoshone Vice Chairman and Natural Resources Officer Bradley Perry joins us to tell us more. Hi, Vice Chairman.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm doing great. As we approach the 160-year anniversary of the massacre, could you tell us about the history and what this time really means for the Northwestern Band of Shoshone today?
Yeah, so like you said, 160 years ago, the volunteer army that was stationed at Fort Douglas in Salt Lake City, Utah, marched about 120 miles north of Salt Lake into our winter camp. And so for thousands of years, right now, we would be at our hot springs camp, or what we call Bo Ogwe, to rejuvenate. And so this time of year was always a happy time of year for all Shoshone bands to come and camp there and do the warm dance, start to bring on spring, get to talk and converse with each other. So this is a really sacred time for us. It all changed in one day. January 29th, when we lost between 450 and 500 people just to sheer brutality. And to try and reclaim that back, the tribe purchased the land, the massacre site land, in 2018. And so now we're trying to change the story from, yes, this is a massacre site, but it also was a site we came to for 1,000 years, and we want to make sure that we celebrate that, yet honor those that have fallen there.
And what kind of work have you done at the actual site of the massacre, and why has that been so important to look at this painful past?
So currently we have grants from the Department of Agriculture, the U.S. Department of Interior, and several, private organizations have funded us. The first thing that we're doing is removing invasive species like Russian olive or Phragmites that wouldn't have been there when we camped there. So it would have been unrecognizable, and it's something we don't use culturally. It also takes a lot of water out of the system, and the tribe we want to return water to the Great Salt Lake. We want to make sure that we're doing everything as culturally possible as we can. We've done, several archaeological walkthroughs with the University of Utah. We've taken LIDAR, and we've basically been able to map and draw out exactly what we want to do to actually move what is now called Battle Creek, but at the time was called Beaver Creek, out of an irrigation system and back into a free-flowing system that runs across our land the way it used to. So those that are buried there can recognize what we're doing, and that it will be a place that they feel a little bit more comfortable with willows and cottonwoods rather than, hay and invasive species. So we've cleared about 30 acres of Russian olive trees, which is about 300,000 trees, and we've got another 20 acres to go. And then we've started replanting, like I said, native cottonwoods, native willows, and other plants native to the site. And so we've done all our clearances, and we're ready to move forward this year.
You're also working on building a Shoshone Cultural and Interpretive Center and Amphitheater. What is your goal with these, and how do you see the center and the amphitheater impacting the tribe?
Our tribe isn't, real traditional in that we were never given a reservation. We did go and live together in Utah, but we've never had a place to gather that was our own. And so having a cultural interpretive center where we can share not only what happened 160 years ago during the massacre, but about our culture and how we are still here, how we still live, how we can still use the same plants, and give our tribal members a place to come and connect that's ours, and so they can feel like they're on their home ground. The amphitheater will be a place where we can gather on the 29th of January and be able to be seated and look out over the site and discuss, the tribal issues. And really, it's important to the tribe to just get these things so we can help anyone in the general public to understand who we are and what we do.
And what has the process been like in getting something like this built from its idea and design to now?
It's been large. I mean, we have a fully designed building. We have a fully designed site. We started that in 2018, and we've just been cleared to move dirt. So it's taken almost it's taken 5 years to get to this point to where we are beginning to heavily fundraise to build these things. The ecological restoration is fully funded through federal grants, but the interpretive center and the brick and mortar and those types of things, we are pushing forward on fundraising. But it's been a long process, and it's been an enjoyable process because we are putting together our history and are excited to display it.
Well, Vice Chairman Bradley Perry, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
The seating of the 118th Congress got off to a rocky start with the final appointment of Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House. But everybody's back to work. Regular Holly Cook Macarro joins us to discuss what's in store for Indian country. Welcome back, Holly.
Hi, Mackenzie. It's good to see you again.
So the debt ceiling is looming and issues from last year aren't going away. What's in store for Indian country?
Well, as usual, we will be heading into the appropriation season. There's a number of deadlines that will be coming up for tribal governments to submit appropriations requests for, now that earmarks and those requests are being handled again by individual members of their delegation and taken up by the Appropriations Committee. I think what we're going to be seeing, though, in the very near term is a shuffling of the decks. You're seeing in the headlines right now where Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell from California, two very high-profile members of the Intelligence Committee, were removed by Speaker McCarthy, and that seems to be a bit in retaliation for the removal of some of the Republican members back when they were in the minority. So some of those laying of the table in terms of committee chairmanships and leaderships, all of those voices will have an impact on tribal legislation that will be upcoming. That shuffling is not complete yet, so I hope to have a more full commentary for you as that finishes up this week.
Moving to Sundance, I understand that you've just returned from the Sundance Film Festival. What were your highlights?
You know, it was an incredible year for Sundance. There were 11 films, which I understand is a record, from Indigenous creatives from all over the country telling different stories. I was able to score a ticket to Fancy Dance, the premiere of Fancy Dance on Friday night, which played to a packed house at the Eccles Theater and was directed by Erica Tremblay from the Cayuga Nation and starring just that immensely talented Lily Gladstone and Isabel Ore Nelson from who's First Nations near Vancouver. It was an extraordinary story and one I hope that all of Indian country gets a chance to see. I think we're really, we talk about this renaissance in media and politics and all of these things coming together. I think what we're really seeing here is a lot of hard work. It seems like it's all happening at once, but 25 years of work by folks like Bird Running Water, Heather Ray, Adam Perrone, and so many others at Sundance Institute's Indigenous program have really laid the groundwork for what we saw this year in terms of the films and those that made it into the festival this year.
Also at Sundance, in collaboration with Illuminative, we have the Indigenous House newly established. I was hoping you could touch on what exactly that is.
Yes, the Indigenous House was really under the umbrella of the Sundance Institute, along with the Latinx House, the African American House, they called it the Black House, which was right up above the Indigenous House. And it was really a space for our Indigenous community to gather. And it also hosted some extraordinary panels on Saturday and Sunday. The Indigenous House was created and curated through the vision of Crystal Echo Hawk and her team at Illuminative, and they did an extraordinary job of providing this space. And the panels really featured the voices of every major player in the industry, and with also from without the Indigenous community. There were folks from Google, from Amazon. There were from our community, Erica Tremblay, who was just really the star of Sundance with her movie Fancy Dance, and Tazba Chavez, such an important voice and writer at the writers' tables on so many pieces. And her vision and experience in the industry was really an important thing for everyone to hear. We also had Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan join us, and she's a founding member of Advanced Native Political Leadership, and being, as she says, a first herself, really wanted to recognize how important media is and in educating America. So there were a lot of folks there in support of Crystal Echo Hawk's efforts and leadership in putting together this Indigenous House. It was an extraordinary, I think, by all accounts, place to gather, to share friendship, to be fed and watered, and really hear some important voices. So I look forward to seeing Indigenous House at Sundance from every year forward. I don't think it's going away.
I also wanted to ask you about Native Forward. You chair this nonprofit board, and I understand you have an important anniversary coming up.
We do. It's the 50th anniversary, and we are going to have a gala on February 22nd at the National Museum of the American Indian in Washington, D.C. It's 2 years delayed because of COVID, but we plan on, we're going on a honoring our legacy. We're going to induct the first alumni members of the Hall of Fame and really celebrate the history. We were formerly known as the AIGC, the American Indian Graduate Center. We recently changed our name to Native Forward to more accurately reflect the scholarships that we provide to Indian country. It's not just graduate students, it is to students, Native scholars at all levels and across the country in terms of the colleges they attend. So we're really excited to share the anniversary, to honor some very high profile alumni, and introduce everyone to the new name of Native Forward.
Well, Holly Cook Macarro, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you.
And that's a slice of our Indigenous world. For all the latest, visit ictnews.org. From all of us in the newsroom, stay safe, my relatives.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.